Hello and welcome back
Hi.
to Bookmates with Shelley.
And Yvonne, episode 8.
Episode 8. Here we go.
Woo-hoo.
Okay, so we are going to tackle Queen of Shadows today and in this episode. But Queen of Shadows is a pretty meaty book and it has 2 parts in it. So we decided, for the sake of not keeping,
Fine.
not going on and on for too long and trying to keep it short, we're going to break it into, this is going to be part 1. So Queen of Shadows part 1.
And you can expect this same format for Empire of Storms and for Kingdom of Ash.
That's true, because from here on out, the books are just thicker. There's so much content. There's so many things that happen, so many characters that we'll try to break it up to just,
2.
keep it short.
The
and
only
sweet.
one that will be like 1, it's
Tower of Dawn.
Tower of Dawn.
Yeah, which we'll do that one next,
Yeah.
too. Okay. Where we left off with Heir of Fire is Aelin said goodbye to Rowan temporarily so that she could come back to Rifthold and figure out what's happening there, kind of tell them what she's learned about the Valg, however we're going to say that. And so she does that. So that's where she's at. She's coming back. Now, if we remember, in Rifthold, there is no magic. So all the magic that she was able to finally come into in Wendelin now is gone again. So she has no magic, and she's just Selena because nobody knows she's Aelin except for Chaol.
Broccolini. Yeah.
He knows. He's keeping it top secret. But they haven't spoken either. So also where we left off is Dorian a collar was placed on him. So now he is controlled by a Valg prince. And throughout this whole part 1 of the book, and really the majority of the book, he's battling this prince.
Demon.
Yeah, this demon. He has no control over it. He has little glimpses where he can kind of, how I pictured it was a bit like somebody with maybe schizophrenia would be, that sometimes some parts go away and then other parts come back up. So there are moments where Dorian is aware of his body, aware of things happening, but he can't do anything. He has no control over it. Yeah. So that kind of goes through. And then Aelin arrives, and her first plan is to meet with Aedion.
Yes.
And so she arranges a meeting to meet up with him. As soon as she goes to meet with him, she sees Chaol for the first time, which she has not seen, and she's just kind of deer in the headlights. She wasn't ready. Chaol was actually meeting with Aedion at the time, which again, Aedion being the master manipulator that he is, he set that up to where that interaction would happen.
And at this moment, Selena doesn't know anything that happened.
Yeah, she's clueless. She does not know Dorian has a collar. Yeah.
Yes. She doesn't know that Broccolini is no longer part of the King's Guard.
Yeah, she knows nothing because she's been away for months at this point. And we meet Nezran, who is helping. So Chaol and Nezran have been helping the rebels and try to defeat all these Valg demon whatever things that are just
exactly. They don't know what they are.
They don't know what they are, but they're trying to help people leave the city. They've been doing all this vigilante stuff on the on the backside.
And obviously, when we see Chaol in the beginning of this book, he is the worst.
He's the worst.
He is like a Broccolini, ugh, I hate him so much. He he's battling this guilt that he has because he left
Yeah.
Dorian, and everything that happened with Dorian and Sorsha,
Yes.
yeah. And he's like, he is doing this pity parade on himself. Well, not that much, but yeah. But he's not kind
No.
at all, and he pretty much thinks and tells Selena's like, this has been all your fault.
Yes. He's
This is because of you.
Yeah, he's super mean. He's intimidated. He knows Selena is actually Aelin. He had discovered all of that, and he's scared of her. He is
Yeah.
legitimately scared of her. He's scared of if she does have her magic, what that would mean. And then he knows Aiden, because in the last book he was working alongside Aiden, so I think he's the one to tell Aelin, right? Or was Arabin
What?
that Aiden had been captured?
It was
It was
Arabin.
Arabin.
Arabin
Yes.
tells everything to her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And so but yeah, so in Chaol's mind, he's like, okay, if Aiden gets out, Aelin, now, and then Magic's freed, what are they going to do to Dorian? Because Aelin also, or, well, Selena, it goes back and forth, but we know that it's Aelin. She kind of explains what's happening with the collars and the
Yes.
rings and the difference between them, and how there's not really that person left
Much that you could
anymore.
do. Yeah,
Yeah. And
exactly.
that you have to
And all,
assess the situation. Like, each one's different. They don't really know
yep,
if Dorian's left yet.
exactly. And also, in this part, Kale already knows how to free magic, but he is gatekeeping that. He's not telling her
Yeah.
at
Because
all
he's scared.
because yeah. And also he finds out about, the Fey Prince, and he's not happy
He's
too.
not happy
He's
about
like,
that either. Yeah. That
yeah,
kind of comes
yeah.
out too. I forgot about that. And then we
He's a
also, so Manon, we
yes.
talked about her in the last book, and then her story gets more interesting, I feel like, in this book as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it continues to grow. She's now in Marath, and she's seeing this Duke Parrington and what his plan is, and it's sketch. She's like, I don't know, but she's been ruthless. She's been trained to be ruthless. And so that battle continues, that internal battle. Asterin sees all of this. Asterin sees what's happening is probably not okay. And so she's kind of,
But that comes more on the second part of the
it starts
book.
in this part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Asterin
Yeah.
starts
They start
challenging it.
questioning,
Yes.
questioning her more
More in this side.
about, yeah. And we also meet a new character. We meet
Yes. Yeah.
the lead, right?
We meet a lead in this part. So we meet Lord Vernon Loshan, or how would we say it? Loshan, right? Loshan?
Yeah. I said, yeah, like vermin. I call him vermin.
Yes. He's
Because
horrible.
of vermin.
I
Yeah, he's
honestly
the
don't
worst.
know who's worse, him or Duke Parrington at this point in the game.
In this book, for me, it was
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, he was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So his brother
Mm-hmm.
was Lord of Parinth. Parinth?
Yes.
Yeah. And so his brother was the Lord there, which was in the Terrazin lands and of
Yes.
that court. And his daughter was a lead
Mm-hmm.
who's a little bit younger, or no, same age as Aelin, basically. Maybe a little
Yeah.
bit younger, but not
Yeah.
much, like 1 or 2 years younger. And
Mhm.
her mom was actually Aelin's kind of nursemaid,
Yes.
and was
Yes.
Aelin's mom's kind of right hand person.
So her mom was she was a help
Yes.
at the castle,
Yes.
and her dad falls in love with her and starts courting her, but she becomes really good friends with Aelin's mom, and she is the one that is, Aelin has a lot of wonderful memories about Elid's mom
Yes.
as well.
And then we learned in
And
the last book too that it was Elid's mom who helped her get away
yes, yes,
whenever her parents were killed and all that kind of stuff. So
she was the one that sacrificed herself to give Aelin time to, like, escape.
yeah, so it was kind of refreshing to see this new character. We had already kind of learned a little bit more about just her mom. It was like, oh wow, okay, how is this going to play into the story? All right, Sarah
And
J.
that poor
Mass.
girl, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So
So we
yeah,
learned that she has been kind of she did something with her leg, her ankle, she broke it in some way, or Vernon broke it and didn't have it fixed correctly.
yeah, because when her dad, Vernon's brother, got um eliminated by the king,
Mm-hmm.
she was pretty much like put away in a tower,
Yeah, because
and
she's rightful heir.
yeah, she's the heir to, to that throne
Mm-hmm.
or that
That court,
place.
or not
Yeah,
court, but yeah, the parent.
yeah, like I think, like, the way that I picture is like this municipality, yeah,
Yes.
like, so she is the rightful owner of that, that parish, if you want to say. um, but she had a accident with her foot. She fell,
Yeah.
and her uncle never sent her to a healer, because obviously, remember that the healers were all like,
They didn't have magic.
um no, and they were all like either
Okay.
shipped to the king,
Or
and
eliminated,
the
as you would
king,
say.
yes, yeah, and the king went ahead and had an eliminating feast
Yeah,
with all the
that's
healers.
true. That's right.
So yeah, we meet her, and she has like this big ball and chain, like,
Attached to
on
her.
her,
Yeah.
attached to her leg. Poor
Yeah.
thing.
We feel, but then we sense that there's something or someone guiding her in some way. Like
Yes.
she has something about her. She's very intuitive. She's very much aware of everything, and she kind of puts on this persona of being extremely meek, and so that people just overlook her. But she is very much aware of things
Honey,
and
yes.
super
Yes.
smart. And she and Manon meet, and Manon can sense that she has like witch blood in her.
Yes.
And that's a whole thing too. That story kind of plays out where at some point Manon just says, what color do you bleed? Do you bleed red or do you bleed blue?
Blue.
And even though technically she bleeds red, like she doesn't have blue blood physically, she chooses blue because she
Yeah, because
chooses.
her mom was,
Yeah. And
like
so,
a
and
descendant.
she could see like, okay, if I'm going to choose red, then all I got's Uncle Vernon over here, who's a complete, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
so my other choice is these witches who they've got their own set of rules, but they're going to protect me, and I'm going to be
Well,
set.
and I really like her right from the get go. I really like her character, but she has learned how to
Yeah.
survive, and like you were saying, she becomes very meek
Mhm.
because she is looking for ways out.
Yeah.
So all of this time, she is like planning to see how she can,
Escape.
like, escape. Um, when you were saying about like the intuition that she has, and you will see this in some of the characters. There are some characters that are like blessed by some of the
Yeah.
gods. So, Elide is blessed by this goddess per
Yes.
se.
Yes. I forgot which one.
Um, me too. We will let you
We'll
guys
let you know
know
in
on the
part two.
second side. Yeah. Uh, so, that one, I was a little bit let down because I thought we were going to see a little bit more about that, like witch lineage of
I
her.
know. Yeah. Which we'll talk
And it
about
felt
that later.
sad.
But yeah, that's
Yeah,
definitely, that was a missing piece, which maybe it's a missing piece for a reason.
hopefully.
Maybe.
Dun, dun,
Theories. After
dun.
all of this, we'll have to put our theories out.
See, love
That'll
that
be
for
our,
us.
our last episode of the Throne of Glass series
Yeah,
is, okay, these are our theories now.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So in
Um,
the meantime, if we kind of, so that's happening in the background. There's a lot happening with the witches, and now we have a lead, and we have Parrington has this new buddy, the Lord Vernon, whatever.
and we see
We
Coltane
see
as well a
Caltaine.
little
We're
bit
starting to see more
more.
of her. She's like this ghostly figure. She also has a collar, and but a lead as well as Manon can see that she's a little bit more in control than she lets
Mhm.
on. There's
Yes.
and we also learn that she has a type of power as well,
Yes.
and that's why
Yes.
Parrington took such an interest in her because she
Yes.
could wield shadow fire, which is a whole other thing, and they're planning on using her as this big weapon in
Yeah.
Marath. So that's all happening. And then in the meantime, Lynn had met with Arabin. He throws in Lysandra into the mix. And so,
Again.
with both of us just having read The Assassin's Blade, you read it. I hadn't read it yet at that point in time.
Yeah.
Um, and so there's this beef that's always been between Lysandra
Yes. Muy
and
bien.
Aelin.
And I look at you.
I
I'm so proud.
know. And so and that's because I listened to that audiobook. But I
I
will
know.
still say Urine. I'm not going to say Irene. It's still
I
in
just,
it.
okay. Potato, potato. I'll take that. No
Yeah.
worries.
So we meet Lysandra. She actually, after the meeting with Arabin, she comes to visit Aelin in Aelin's old
Urban
apartment.
Center.
Well, yeah,
Yes.
he sends her. And then to deliver messages or whatever, but Lysandra has a different motive here. She brings along a little girl, Evangeline.
Yes.
And, Aelin's very suspicious of this whole thing, what's happening here. That Evangeline is now
Like her,
Lysandra's.
like her ward.
Yes, yeah, because she was going to be groomed to be a courtesan, but Lysandra scarred her face up,
Yes.
Evangeline's face, so she
With
wouldn't
her.
have to go through that life. Well, then
Yeah.
Lysandra was punished for it. There's this whole thing there, and she's indebted. But so she brings her. Gets she talks to Aelin, who she doesn't know is Aelin at this time. She still thinks she's
Not yet.
Selena,
Yeah. Still in it.
and she tells her the truth about what happened with Sam
Damn. Yes.
because
Yes.
another assassin there, Wesley, was he and Lysandra had a thing, and they were
Mm-hmm.
they were
In
in
love.
love and all that kind of stuff. And Wesley tried to avenge what happened to Sam as well as Selena getting trapped and sent over to Endovier, and Arabin ended up eliminating him.
And something that we didn't say in the previous when we were talking about Assassin's Blade, actually Wesley tried to stop
Yes, he
Selena
did.
from going to the like the Lord
To go
the
on that whole
yeah
job. Yeah, because he
yeah
told her it
yeah
was a trap.
yeah
He was
yeah,
convinced it
but
was a
she
trap.
didn't. Yeah,
Or no,
yeah.
it was
He
after
knew.
the fact. It was after Sam. She was going to go and take revenge.
Yes, and he wanted,
He tried
he
to stop her,
tried to stop her. So he sent, he writes this letter
explaining
of all
everything.
the truths to Selena. And I really, when Lysandra goes, Selena, she says, like, is Arabin sending you as a gift? And then, we know because Arabin says, like, yeah, I wanted to know if you wanted to eliminate her or not. So, I was like testing the waters to see how you were doing. But I absolutely adore the friendship
Oh, yes.
of those two.
Oh, yes. I mean, you and I went
And
back and forth with that,
yeah,
how beautiful it was.
yes. And how Selena allowed herself to open up. And one of the things I love about her character is that you can see how she has grown. Um, because, when she starts opening up a little bit to Lysandra, Selena is like talking to herself, saying, like, even though this didn't go well with what was the other one, the one that with
Oh,
Nehemia,
uh-huh.
I'm going to put myself out there, and be like a more friend or
Yeah, she kind
whatever.
of learned
So
from being so guarded with Nehemia.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, and I really I really loved their relationship for sure, and I really love Lysandra's character and really her wit and I mean, she was kind of cut to the chase too, just like
Yeah,
Selena
yes,
slash
I really,
Aelin.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So, all right. So then what kind of happens is Aelin also finds out that Aedion, her cousin, has been captured. So that's her like first thing she needs to do is free him. So this involves so much orchestrating. She has to use Arabin for help. She's got Lysandra for help. She's got Chaol and Nezrin. And a couple of the guards that Chaol trusts.
yeah, yes,
And they're orchestrating this huge escape, which was masterfully written, I have to say.
beautiful.
I
Yes,
mean, it was, the whole time I was thinking, okay, we all know Sarah J. Maas doesn't really drop bombs until the end of a book. This is middle of the book. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen here? I don't know.
yeah,
I'm kind of scared.
yeah,
Um, and then just it, the escape scene was so intense. I
mm-hmm.
was reading it and my adrenaline was pumping so hard with all of it because I'm like,
Yes,
it is not going to take long and this is going to go south really quick. I know something's going to happen. What's going to happen? But that it was, again, like Selena's mind and how she could create and put all these things into place to get her to
mm-hmm.
get to Aiden. And so he gets
Yes.
freed. We're like, okay, they're in the home stretch. They're running across this garden. And who do they see? Dorian.
Because they were going it was the prince birthday
Yeah.
celebration. It was Dorian's birthday, and they were gonna celebrate
The
his birthday by
eliminating
eliminating
Aiden.
Aiden. So, and Aiden was like ready to, like, deuces,
He's like,
bye,
I'm
I'm gonna.
done. He doesn't know. Well, he
He kind of
he
knew,
does
and
find out about Aelin.
that she's still, yeah, he found out that she's still
Yeah, at
alive
the end of the
on the
last
last
book, right?
book.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So he knows.
But he was afraid that she would try to get him out,
Yeah.
and he was trying to, he had like an infection, and
Yes.
he didn't say anything, but then Dorian comes and it's like, by the way, this dude is like 2 days away
From
from
death,
kicking the bucket, so
we have
we
to
have
fix
to,
him.
yeah.
Yeah. So they get him out, and then after he kind of, well, no, sorry, I just skipped over the Dorian thing.
Oh, sorry, yeah, my
Back up
fault.
to Dorian. So they see Dorian, and the whole thing, Aelin had promised Chaol that she wouldn't kill Dorian
Hmm.
unless they, unless she knew that there was no Dorian left. So
Yeah.
they get stuck by Dorian, and Aelin's kind of trying to talk to Dorian through the prince, trying to say, give me a sign, please give me a sign, because she really doesn't want to have to do it. And she doesn't see any sign. In the meantime, I think she had done like word marks or whatever to trap
Yes.
him. And
Yes.
then she was going to go ahead and eliminate, because she thought,
Yeah.
okay, this is it. But then Chaol had already told Nezrin to keep an eye out, a scout eye, and not let it happen. So Nezrin shot her arrow at Aelin, and then
Yes.
Dorian stayed. They didn't mess with him. And
Yeah.
then Aedion and Aelin escaped back to the warehouse, which was a whole event too, trying to get them out, and Lysandra, and it was all so intense.
It broke my heart. Yeah. When, the little snippets that we have of Dorian inside,
Oh, I know.
when he was saying, it's like, I know that
I
voice.
know that voice. Who is that?
I know that face. He's trying to remember,
Yeah.
but
It was really sad. That was sad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it
Aedion
was.
and Aelin get reunited back at home, and that was
Yes.
really sweet. It was a very sweet moment, because we know that they grew up together. They have this complete devotion to one another, and I know you're grinning because we know what happens later. But in this little moment, that is these first chapters right here, I actually liked Aedion quite a bit. And I like their little. I was like, "Oh, this is good for Aelin. She has nobody, no relatives."
I only appreciated the part when he was still like getting better after. That was the only part.
And that's the part I'm talking about. It was really sweet.
Yeah, because the rest is like
So then we'll move on to the rest. One of my top favorite scenes of these books is they're walking down like the streets, back streets or whatever,
but we have to preface, for people need to know, when she was going in to get Aedion, she kept thinking about Rowan
yes.
all the time.
Like, he has been on her mind. She's missed him. And we're all wondering, when's he going to show up? Yeah. And then they're going down this street, and Aedion smells something, because he's more Fae.
He's half Fae. Yeah.
So for whatever reason, he can like smell and do all those Fae senses where Aelin can't, if she hasn't shifted. So he senses it, and
because Aedion was like, I'm done being here. We need to go out. So he's walking with Nezrin and Aelin.
Yeah.
And
then, they describe this tall figure that shows up down the street. Aelin runs to him, and
that part.
it was the sweetest part ever. And I mean, he just engulfs her, and they just hug and they squeeze. And then Nezrin's like, "Who is that?" And Aedion says, "It's Rowan." And it was just like, I could reread that little part over and over again. It was one of the best.
It was perfection.
It really was. And again, because we left off in the last book where they have bonded tremendously, Rowan and Aelin. We've seen her bonding or attempting friendships and things, but nothing like what she had with Rowan. And so to have them separated and then to have them come back together, it was just such a powerful moment, and so sweet.
I think that the way that their relationship evolves, they start hating each other.
Yeah.
And then he starts like opening up a little bit more to her, but it's the intimacy that they have. And again, They haven't even kissed, people.
No, no.
Okay.
And that's the thing. I mean, in the last book, and even a lot of this, and even, well, no, a lot of the
Yeah.
last book, it is this deep friendship. They are just partners, but there's nothing other. There's no romantic notions there as that was described in the last book. Now, come
Mhm.
this book, there starts to be definitely more on Aelin's part than his, but even him, like the dialogue, he's fighting. He's
He has to restrain people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
She's kind of ready to just throw the walls down and be like, "Hey man, like let's just see where this goes."
Can you blame her? I
I
can't.
know.
I
A-
can't. No, of course
And
not.
he's putting up some barriers, but I got to
Well, because he thinks about her all the
yeah.
time. He's like, how are, you have to think about this. You're a queen now, And she's like, and
And
I don't
yeah.
care.
And I love it because she just flirts and does little things to just rile
I
him
love her
up. I
banter. Her
know.
banter is
I mean, all of
so,
her teasing was great. I loved it. I love that those parts in that book of
yeah.
and then so speaking of that, Arabin calls them all to his
Oh, because Arabin wants, so as payment for his help
with Aiden.
of getting Aiden out is he wants Valg like commander for him.
Yes.
Like to and then Aelin is like, why? He's like, well, they're all of a sudden all of them are here now and they're not good for my business. So I want to know what's going
Yeah, he
on.
wants to figure it out.
So yeah, so he's like, I will help you put all of my resources at your feet, but you have to bring me one.
Yeah.
That's gonna be your payment.
Yeah. And so she does go on the hunt for one. And in the meantime, again, this is Aylin's brain working 5 steps ahead.
20 steps ahead.
Yes. She finds one that is kind of newly turned, so to speak.
Yes.
So there's more of the person inside them. And so that's the one she decides to capture, and they make a deal between her and that Valg or whatever. And in the meantime, with all that happening, Rowan also lets her know that Lorkinsman is there. He was one of the like part of his cadre or whatever with Maeve. He's like one of the fiercest warriors. And he's snooping around. Rowan really doesn't know why. He doesn't know if Maeve's got something that, because again, he's still blood oath to Maeve. Mauve.
Yeah.
What do you say, Maeve or Mauve?
Mauve. No, Maeve. Sorry,
Maeve.
Maeve. Yeah.
So there's that story in the mix that's happening. Aiden and Rowan meet. And Rowan immediately smells him, as one does, and says, "Oh, you're Gavril's son." So, again, Gavril, one of his cadre, is actually Aiden's dad. And Aiden didn't know who his dad was. He knew he was Fae, but he didn't know who. And he's like one of the greatest Fae that ever lived.
Yeah.
So that was a shocker. And then again, Rowan in his smell, Lysandra comes in. He's like, "What's up, shapeshifter?"
Yeah. We're like, what?
Woo! So then Lysandra secrets out that she was a shapeshifter before magic had disappeared.
Yeah.
So we get that zinger in, which is just amazing. And there's just a ton of banter there between all of them, which I loved. I love those little chapters. And Chaol is like a little sulky teenager in the corner the whole time.
And I really love that Nesrin is like, dude, get out of your head.
Yeah.
They're amazing. And I really like Nesrin as well from the get-go.
I did too.
I really, I really like that she thinks for herself.
Yep.
And and she knows when, she's a very good judge of
Yeah.
character. I really like her about. Also, one of the scenes that so we have talked about the blood oath,
Yes.
right? So in Terrasen, there was only one person that is the one that takes the blood oath for the king or
That was their
queen.
tradition, just one person. Whereas
And
Maeve
Aelin,
Mauve
yeah,
had several.
she had like a harem
Yeah.
of, and I don't blame her with all those Fey warriors. I'm like, yeah, okay, everybody, you want one, everybody gets
Yeah.
one. So Aiden was very, very, very particular about this, to the point that when we met, there's another character, Ren, and we talked about him in a podcast. um they have always been like on this fight
Oh, yeah.
uh
Because they
to
both
see which
wanted the
one.
blood oath to
Yeah.
her.
So Aiden was like, yeah, and when when you give it to me, and he keeps telling that to Aelin, and Aelin is like, okay, I haven't. She was looking for the time to tell him, and then
Rowan
Rowan
comes
goes
in and
and
just
like,
bursts
like,
that bubble.
by the way, because the blood oath, and he's like, wait, what? And then Aiden
And then
starts.
here comes.
That was yeah, that was a moment for me when he started going
Yeah.
downhill.
Yeah.
I don't like him.
Yeah. Aiden, yep. Like I said, we had some blissful moments there for a little bit. And then.
Like 2 pages, people, 2 pages of blissful moments.
And then,
And I'm
yes.
being good.
Yes. That was when Pouty Aiden, that reminded me of Tamlin, kind of came around.
I told you,
Yeah.
we talked it so much. I'm like, people talk about Tamlin, but Aiden is the worst.com.
Yeah.
Even worse than Broccolini. I have to get him. I have to look for a synonym or whatever
Oh,
for him.
yeah. A little nickname.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a big thing that happened. And there was some kind of like fey male ego stuff happening between Rowan and Aiden too, and that was funny though, because Aelin and Lysandra like
Yeah.
joked about it, and
Yeah, and Aelin was like, "Oh, these fey
fey males.
male warriors,"
Yeah.
and like, yeah, I don't blame them, but
And then
yeah,
the this part of the book ends with Arabin inviting them over to his place because Aelin has the Valg now that she's gonna hand over to him, and
mhm,
Arabin with his just creepiness sends her this little box of oil for
yes.
her to like.
Who put almond oil on them?
Yeah,
I'm
I
like, you
felt like it
want to
was
smell like
so
marzipan?
odd, and it was like he wanted to just show that ownership again.
Yeah,
And, and I felt bad for Aileen because you could see that struggle. She did not want to do it, but she
no,
was like, this is the
yeah,
last card because they have it all planned out how the night's going to go. Again, her planning 5 steps ahead. She knows what's going to happen and so she's prepared and she's like, okay, I'm
yeah.
going to sacrifice this one thing. I'm going to put this nasty oil on to make him
It,
happy.
it for me, it was almost like when it's like a like marking territory.
Yes,
That's the way that I
I
saw it.
did too.
And also, um, we forgot to mention that in the beginning of this book, Arabin again, tells Aelin that he loves her,
Yes, yes.
and that he would do
Oh,
anything
yeah.
to, like super creeper
A lot of
again.
manipulation
And
trying to happen and
the way that he talks to her and the way that he looks at her, I'm like, it was very, it was super
it was
uncomfortable.
very uncomfortable,
So
yeah.
So tell everybody what our Fey male warrior. Look at him over there.
So they get
Did.
to Arabins and they walk out, which how they explain it too. So whenever they got to rewind a little bit, whenever Rowan first gets there and he kind of is looking at all of Aelin's stuff, and Aelin has again said she does not shy away from the
I
comforts
love it.
and the
Yeah.
the lush lifestyle. And so
Yeah.
she has this gorgeous dress with this like golden dragon, right? That
Yes,
comes
on the
out the
back.
back and all of this. And I mean, Rowan just loves it. She comes out with that to go to this house. So she's looking just
Amazing.
amazing. And I mean, Rowan knows it. And so, anyway, so they're walking up in their best dressed. And Rowan introduces himself and then says, by the way, thank you for the oil. My skin was a little dry.
He's the best.
That was again
And
one of those.
Arabin,
That was one of those
it was the
lines
best.
that was just
Best.
perfect.
Beautiful. Yeah. He's like, oh, you wanted me. And, for Faye, it's all about the scent,
Yeah. Yeah.
So Arabin knew what he was doing. And this is why I love Rowan so much, because once he got out of the pouty,
Yeah.
moody type of guy,
Yeah.
like vibe, he was all into, it's like, no, I'm here for you.
Yep.
You lead the way and I'll follow you.
Yeah.
Yo
Till
lo
whatever
amo.
end.
Stop, Shelly. I'm going to cry. Stop.
So
And when fire, oh, but yeah, we end up with that.
okay.
Yes,
So
exactly.
this is kind of where things end, and I mean this is big, but I'll go through it kind of quick. That because it's all orchestrated, and Aelin ends up playing Arabin, and
Big time.
also side note, going back to the Rowan thing, Arabin is watching Aelin and Rowan through the entire dinner, everything. He is not happy about what he's seeing because, again, he's always been possessive of her. He didn't want Sam to have her. He doesn't want Lysandra to have her. He doesn't want anybody to have her.
Anybody.
And it's set for him. And so he's got his plans in the works. Aelin's got her plans in the works. And how it plays out is she convinces Arabin that in order for a Valg to take over a body, there has to be like the rings put on an ingestion of like the blood of that person. And then you're in control of that person. So she's just playing this up like this is actually what happens, And so because she has a feeling that Arabin is going to try to pull one over on her. So sure enough, they have a moment with the Valg, and Arabin does what she expected to do, pulls a ring.
I didn't think it was gonna do that.
Oh,
When that
I
part happened,
know.
I was like, "What?"
I thought,
No.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my goodness, now what? Aelin's now, under the control or whatever, because we didn't really know either.
Exactly.
We thought, okay, this is what happened. So anyway, he does everything that she says, and it comes in and like cuts her and puts the black ring on her finger, thinking he's in control over her, and he's like, blink once if you understand, and she blinks. And so we're in this thinking, oh my goodness, what happened to Aelin? No.
And when he tells her, "Tell me you love me,"
Yes, that was so
and
gross.
she's like, "I love you," it's like, tell me you love me and say my name.
Yeah.
And she has to go ahead and
do
do
all
that,
that. Like, just
and all of this, Rowan is outside.
He's outside the door hearing
listening
everything.
everything, and he has to
rein it in.
that male, the way that he keeps everything. And also, I don't know if we had mentioned this before, but Aelin and Rowan, they have a lot of conversations
through the mind.
mentally.
Yes.
So they just don't know that they're doing it in front of people.
Yeah.
So they did it a couple of times in front of Aaron.
Yeah, like they're having
at the dinner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which he didn't.
And that's what
set him off for sure. So they go and get in the carriage. Aedion has no clue. Rowan knows what Aelin's plan is, but Aedion didn't. And so he's clueless. He's sitting there like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Right. And they get back to
Yeah.
the warehouse, and then she throws the ring off, and she's just like, ugh. And he's like, what? And again, Aedion has his little temper tantrum because he didn't get included in the plans.
Whatever. Then I grow up.
Yeah, and all of that. And so, and in the meantime, Lysandra is back over with Arabin, and she ends up being the one.
Yeah, because Aelin knows after this that in order for her to be free, Arabin has to be eliminated. And but before they go, and Aelin invites Rowan to go with her to visit Sam's resting place.
Did that happen in part 1 or part 2?
It was before they went to the dinner.
Oh, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, you would know because you just reread it.
Because she wanted to do it, prior to going there.
Yeah, I do remember that, which was such a sweet, and then
it was beautiful.
that was such a beautiful moment, because that was the other thing.
Yeah.
Arabin told Aelin where Sam was buried.
Yeah, because she didn't know.
Yeah, and Wesley had put a tombstone up.
Yeah.
And then, their tradition is to, in Terrasen, is to put a rock on it.
Yes.
And then Rowan went and put a rock too.
No. Again, he's just perfection.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Yeah.
So the book kind of ends there with Lysandra ends up being the one to eliminate Arabin.
Yeah, because Aelin, she was like, if you want to do it, you can do it,
Yeah, she felt like she was owed that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, that's how.
We'll stop there for part 1, and then we'll pick up on the next episode with part 2.
Yes, we will.
Do you have some rapid fire for me real quick before we go?
Yes. So the first one is, what's your favorite summer drink?
Ooh. Abita strawberry.
Ooh.
So, yes.
Yes.
That is and really it's more of a spring, but typically in June it's still, Abita is a Louisiana beer, and they have seasonal, and the strawberry is like my favorite. And then second to that is just a crisp white wine.
Okay. I like it. These ones are like food related this time. What is your go-to snack at the lake?
Oh, specifically at the lake? My go-to snack at the lake. I get the spinach and artichoke dip, and I have celery sticks. And I dip celery. I dip with the celery. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last one, what is your favorite summer afternoon activity?
Definitely being either floating around in the lake or floating around in a pool. Being in the water somewhere with my boys, and that is my favorite afternoon activity for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
All right, part 2 is coming up next.
Bye.